Hey, what's going on people? It's SGZ here from the SpartanGameZone, and in this video we'll be counting down the top 10 legendary weapons for Zane the Operative. These guns all have a special affinity with Zane, who can capitalize on them to deal some ultra damage. Each of these weapons were handpicked with him in mind and work great in his playstyle. I'll be telling you what they do, who has an increased chance to drop them, and which combination of anointments and abilities will bring out the most of each gun. If you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate it if you could drop a like, and if you're enjoying the content and haven't subscribed yet, then now is a great time to start, and let's crack into it. We open this countdown of the top 10 legendary weapons for Zane the Operative with the Flipper, a Bounty of Blood weapon that can come in all the elements and has an increased chance to drop from Minosaur around here in Bloodsun Canyon. The Flipper is a great weapon on Zane, all thanks to its high projectile count, which you can have blasting for days on end. It gradually builds momentum, starting with the one projectile before summoning more. There'll be 1, then 3, then 5, all the way up to 9. And if you're spec'd into violent violence, that increase isn't gradual, it's rapid. In practically a second, you'll be dealing its full incredible damage for the remainder of its magazine, cutting through enemies like you're a lumberjack that can't stop lumberjacking. But what if that magazine never ends? Well, grab yourself a Digiclone and a Flipper with a Digiclone active regen ammo anointment, and you'll have the Flipfinity in your hands. Who said only Moes can do it? Zane can do it too, and it's equally devastating. Next up is the Smog, a Hyperion SMG that can come in every element except for none, and can only be obtained through the Guardian takedown by defeating its final boss. The Smog is the first and only Hyperion weapon to make proper use of that front facing shield, boosting its damage massively while it's active. As long as you're aiming down sights and its shield is fully charged, you'll be firing deadly amp shots that'll slice right through your opposition. To see it at its best, it's paramount you protect its shield. If only Zane had some sort of skill or ability that would enable us to do that. Maybe a special spray he can use before bed, a toothpaste, or... oh wait, he has, it's his barrier. Zane can use it to great effect to ensure the Smog is constantly dealing peak damage, and that damage is crazy high. It's a typically slow firing gun too, but with enough points in violent violence it won't feel slow at all, and you can transform it into a rapid firing and hard hitting machine. Moving on to the Complex Root, a Melee weapon from Bounty of Blood that drops the fastest from Lanny Dixon around here in Ashfall Peaks. The Root is a gun that makes use of a racer like few guns can. It fires in a 2-round burst, with each shot triggering a damaging spectacle. It's that projectile pattern that Zane can take advantage of to cause some absolute havoc, summoning a cataclysmic level of damage that'll have you delete enemies with one tap of the trigger. To make best use of Eraser, you want to pair that with his Hustler Comm to scale both the amount and force of each critical hit, and playing dirty along with the capped Art of War will make those one-shots even easier. It's a gun that calculates damage a little differently than the rest, and we should all be thankful for that. Time now for the Theizzy, a COV pistol that only comes elemental and belongs to Arms Race with an increased chance to drop from this chest. The Theizzy is a gun that will make you dizzy trying to keep track of all the bullets you'll fire, especially when spec'd into skills like violent violence. It's a gun that gets increasingly more aggressive, spinning up its barrel to an incredible rate of knots and downing enemies before you even know it. As it overheats, it grows stronger, and Zane can get it at full strength before anyone else. Now normally you would only reserve it for bossing, but on Zane with our Digiclone and the correct anointment, you can take it to the mobbing field too. It's a little unnecessary, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it, adding another string to this finely tuned banjo. Moving on to the Butcher, a Hyperion shotgun that comes in every single element, including none at all, and has an increased chance to drop from Titan, the final boss of the Slaughter Shaft, but can also be obtained by trading ludograms to Earl Crazy. The Butcher is a fully automatic shotgun that almost never runs dry. Holding down that trigger will have you rail off shots at a rapid rate as ammo is returned to your magazine. For that to happen, you'll want the ×3 variant instead of the ×6 one, but that's great because we can get an extra 25% damage from playing dirty, which will struggle to beat on another shotgun. It's the perfect trailblazer for Zane, matching his playstyle to a T and serving up damage all day long. Up next is the Needle Gun, an SMG that can come in all the elements, including none at all, and belongs to the Cartel event, with an increased chance to drop from Josie Bite or Franco Firewall, as well as, of course, Joey Ultraviolet. The Needle Gun is an incredible weapon with a unique effect unlike anything else. Shooting your targets will have their strength drain quickly until they're like grandma before she takes a shot of prune juice. A particle effect will erupt from their souls once they're at their weakest point, with subsequent rounds not only dealing much more damage, but also refilling your magazine. It's best with the ×2 variant, as that not only will deal more damage, it'll proc a Seeing Dead mod twice as much, with the extra ammo cost balanced by its unique effect. It's a weapon that rewards concentrated fire, with Zane able to reach it faster than the rest. If you're looking for a gun that's great across the board, then there's not much better than this. Moving on now to the Redistributor, an elemental Hyperion SMG which can only be obtained by defeating Wotan, the final boss of the Maliwan takedown. The Redistributor is a gun that sees its best days on Zane by a long way. It's heavily aided by one thing in particular, and is possibly the greatest combination you can find in Borderlands 3. Every 7th shot of the Redistributor is amped, dealing double damage, and every amp shot will chain to nearby enemies. With Zane's barrier up, every single shot will be amped and therefore chained to nearby enemies, although the 7th will still be the only bullet to receive the damage bonus. One-on-one it's still good, but it comes into its own while mobbing, chaining deadly beams of elemental energy between enemies, which will suck the life out of everyone in no time. Consecutive hits is a great anointment because you'll be hitting so much, and the Hustler Con will get your chain rounds counting as crits, raising their damage even more. As far as Zane is concerned, this is the king whenever there's a lot of people around. Moving on to the O.P.Q System, an Atlas assault rifle that only comes non-elemental and is exclusive to the Cartel event, dropping from either Josie Bite, Franco Firewall, or Joey Ultraviolet. The O.P.Q System is a gun that doesn't hold back. It fires 2 projectiles per shot at a good rate, with some shock rounds thrown in. On Zane, those blue blasts come thick and fast, tearing chunks out of enemies' health bars each time they're triggered. When you add that on top of its already high base damage, you'll wipe out a group of enemies before they've had a chance to fight back. Because it's multi-palleted, it'll proc abilities faster than it would otherwise, and playing dirty will still make a noticeable difference. It's a phenomenal weapon whatever way you look at it, serving up a cold plate of whoop ass in all situations, and it's great on the clone. Coming up next, it's the Kick Charger, an elemental railgun that is exclusive to Arms Race, with an increased chance to drop from this chest. The Kick Charger is the single most powerful weapon in the entire game, and it synergizes extremely well with Zane. It comes with the charge mechanic that boosts its damage based on how long you hold the trigger, maxing out at 300%, but ain't nobody got time for that. Instead, you can slide to fully charge it, and what better combo than violent speed and violent momentum paired with the toboggan and anti-freeze class mod and this thing. In that setup, you'll be unstoppable, obliterating whatever you set your sights on. It's simply unreal, and I have to say, a little bit disgusting. For maximum damage, you want to have maximum points, and playing dirty, be running an Infernal Wish, and make sure to fully stack Art of War. Only consuming one shot makes it great for mobbing, where it can penetrate multiple enemies per shot, but bossing is its home, where you can show that boss who's boss. Before number 1 is revealed, let's dive into some honourable mentions. First up is the Convergence, the shotgun from the Psycho Craig DLC, which can come in all the elements including none, and has increased chance to drop from Dr. Benedict around here in the Benediction of Pain. The Convergence is Hyperion excellence in its greatest sense, with its 4 pellet version being best. Each time you land a shot, a dissection of blades will penetrate your target from all angles, practically dealing its full damage once more. With the Hustler Com, you can get those hitting criticals and you'll be freezing enemies solid fast with just a few points in Brain Freeze. A lot of hits means a lot of damage, and it's a shotgun that should never be overlooked. Next, it's the Sandhawk, a Mayhem 6+ dial sniper rifle that only comes elemental and has increased chance to drop from Katagawa Jr. You fight around here at the top of Atlas HQ. There's no doubt the Sandhawk is insanely strong, but one thing often holds it back. That thing is ammo, but with Zane we don't need to worry about that. With your clone out, you can ask him to fill you up, and if you ask nicely, he will, allowing you to mob with it forever. If you haven't tried this while mobbing, you should. It's unreal, demolishing targets with a blistering volley of 7 deadly projectiles. On Zane it may have found a new home, but bossing is still its calling. Now to the Monarch, another Mayhem 6+ weapon. This one comes in all flavours with an increased chance to drop from Kilovolt. You fight around here in Letras City. The Monarch doesn't really synergize well with Zane for the most part, but it's still powerful, so you won't be able to ignore it. It fires a crazy amount of rounds in very little time, dealing heavy damage and proccing all of those kill skills. With its bipod out, it's even more powerful, but you'll forfeit the bonus from violent speed and violent momentum. However you use it though, this thing is brutal, there's no doubt about that. The next honourable mention I have for you is the Sleeping Giant, a dial SMG that can come in kinetic, fire, corrosive and shock, and drops the fastest from one punch after completing this puzzle, which you can find around here in Letras City. The Sleeping Giant is perhaps the gun that benefits most from Zane's Digiclone Ammo Regen Anointment. Reloading can grant you a number of buffs, with the damage one able to stack multiple times, peaking at 5.5 times its original damage. Needless to say, that's a lot, and it is. Once maxed out, this giant will be sleeping no more, competing with every single gun on this list. Moving on to the Grease Trap, a unique cartel pistol that comes in both fire and grease and will drop from Joey Ultraviolet as well as Roaster and Tenderizer. The Grease Trap is the perfect gift for your clone, where you can grease up your enemies to have him deal mountains of damage. That's thanks to its unique alt firing mode, which can be used to massively increase its power. Normally you'd have to do it yourself, but when 2 becomes 1 or when 1 becomes 2, things get pretty spicy. And how can I forget about the Sawbar, an incendiary only COV assault rifle that has an increased chance to drop from Borman Nates round in this area of the Meridian Metroplex. This is one gun that shocked me when I first found out just what it could do on Zane. When spec'd into a racer, it'll do things its rivals cannot even dream of, and that thing is one-shot bosses. Being able to do that on a fully automatic weapon with under 30k damage is unbelievable, but it does it well. Other top choice weapons for Zane include the Atlas Replay and the Hydra Frost, but if you're looking for more base game weapons, the O.P.Q, Rowan's Call, Reflux, Backburner and Plaguebearer are all great too. We have arrived at top spot, and who's lighting the way? It's the Light Show, a Vlad pistol from the Bounty of Blood that has an increased chance to drop from Lazardactyl around here in the Obsidian Forest. The Light Show fires 4 streaming projectiles at a rapid rate which just flatten targets. Its multiple pellets don't just raise its damage but ensure your action skills never end, allowing you to deal maximum damage all of the time. Its projectile pattern is indeed a circle, which makes it a little hard to proc Headman's Hands and other crit focused skills, but with Mana Focus we can tighten its radius, making that a lot easier to achieve. It'll peak on both Digi-Zane and Plain Zane, dishing out high damage in every single situation. Whether you're hunting the pack or its leader, the light show will never disappoint. So that's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it and learned the top 10 legendary weapons for Zane the Operative. If you did, consider dropping a like or subscribing, and I'll catch you in the next one.